With Xicor's escape from the Z-Sword drawing near, our heroes were left with no other choice than to resurrect the legendary Super Saiyan Broly in their attempts of stopping the Saiyan God hybrid as we continue the events of Dragon Ball AF Manga Chapter number 3, in which if you haven't seen or caught up to Dragon Ball AF's story, then you can find the links to all the previous manga chapters down in the description box below, as Broly is now desperately needed to prevent the worst from happening. As once more before we begin, if you are new to this channel and of course love Dragon Ball and anime, then don't forget to go ahead and smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications by clicking on the bell icon to never miss a single upload. And if you guys just so happen to love Dragon Ball and anime, then be sure to go ahead and slap a like down below. And if you guys want to go ahead and read up on more Dragon Ball fan-made mangas created by the community for the community, then be sure to go ahead and click the description box down below and check out all of your favorite Dragon Ball fan mangas located down in the description for the Dragon Ball fan manga playlist, as we kick off Dragon Ball AF Manga Chapter number 4 with the resurrection of the legendary Super Saiyan Broly. And as Broly is wandering the earth trying to figure out as to what exactly had happened and why exactly he's back on Earth, out of nowhere Vegeta touches down as he goes on to cry out, Broly, so it really is you. As Broly turns around, immediately he recognizes the face in front of him as he cries out, Vegeta, is this the living world? As Vegeta goes on to tell Broly, of course it is. Broly doesn't have a single idea as to why he's here, why he was summoned, but the first thing that Broly does is remember Kakarot. And as he does so, inside of his head, he remembers when Kakarot first defeated him, as Kakarot went on to state, I am not gonna let you get away with this no matter what. Firing off the family Kamehameha with Gohan, Goten, and Goku, Broly is beginning to catch flashbacks of what had happened. And even then, Broly begins to remember the final fight he had with Goku, Gohan, and Goten, as of course he was blasted into the sun, as Vegeta proceeds to tell Broly, so, your memories of when you were killed are resurfacing, huh? Enraged at the idea of the previous battle he had with Goku and his children, Broly goes on to state, wait for it, Kakarot! As he transforms into a Super Saiyan, so does Vegeta. But Broly, on the other hand, despite the differences in power, does not fear Vegeta, but instead, he charges on in, and right before he is about to get his hands on Vegeta, Gotenks steps in. He gets in between Broly and Vegeta, as he goes on to tell Broly, wait a minute, Broly, stop. As Vegeta powers down, Broly goes on to ask, who the hell are you? With Vegeta having to comment, I figured you were responsible for this. As Gotenks laughs, he goes on to cry out, no, well, you see, alright, well listen, and right before he's about to further explain himself, Broly wastes no time as he gets in Gotenks' face having to cry out, don't interfere. As he attempts to attack Gotenks, he completely misses, but instead, Gotenks transforms into a Super Saiyan 3, in which now we are getting the legendary Super Saiyan Broly versus Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, which of course the power scaling is completely wonky at this point considering how strong Gotenks has gotten in comparison to Broly, but every single time Broly attempts to attack Gotenks simply dodges. As of course Gotenks cries out, take this! Galactic Donuts! Basically trapping Broly the exact same way he did with Super Buu, as he begins to compliment himself and having to cry out, well, that's just a little too early for you to oppose me. With Broly having to struggle, it truly looks like Gotenks has the upper hand on Broly, having to keep him restrained by using the Galactic Donuts technique, which is weirdly enough working in Gotenks' favor in keeping Broly restrained, but elsewhere we notice how Android 8 and Android 17 seem to be out in the wilderness, as Android 17 goes on to tell Android 8, damn it, what did I do? There's hardly any animals around. As Android 8 goes on to tell him, the Earth's kind of been funny for a little while now. Something's been happening. As Android 17 looks behind him, Android 8 continues, probably another battle has started, with 17 having to respond, man, this planet keeps getting into one pinch after another. As Android 8 goes on to reply, aren't those guys who are fighting your friends? With 17 responding, well, we're just coincidences. It doesn't really matter. As Android 8 goes on to ask, but isn't number 18 out there too? Aren't you going to go and help her? As 17 responds, I'm not gonna. It's not like she's looking for me anyways. With Android 8 having to tell him, that's not true. You're strong, she'll definitely need your help. As 17 responds, you've gotta be kidding, number 8. For her, I'm just the man who murdered her husband. Obviously she's going to hate me. with Android 8 having to reply, "That wasn't your fault. Number 18 must understand that." As 17 responds, "Huh. At any rate, she doesn't even know I was brought back to life. If you want to go, then you could just go on your own, number 8. As Android number 8 is trying to drill into 17's head that his sister could need his assistance, and the fact that even though Android 18 could potentially be mad at him for what he had done prior to the GT events of Super Android 17, Android number 8 is still implying that 17 needs to protect and be there for his sister. Meanwhile, back in Capsule Corp, we notice how Broly had finally been restrained. As a matter of fact, he's held prisoner and held captive within Capsule Corporation, and in all good faith, it's for the better in having to keep Broly restrained. As Broly awakens to find himself restrained, Bra walks on over towards Broly and having to tell him, "Here, have some food." As Broly denies, she sits down next to him and having to tell him, "You're a Saiyan too, so you must be a real pig. So, be a good boy and eat." As of course she offers him food from the goodness of her heart, Broly is still giving her a difficult time. As of course Broly somehow manages to break loose, he grabs onto Bra's leg, and the second he grabs onto Bra's leg, he utters out the words, "I'll kill you." As Bra tells him straight up, "I'll tell you right now, the era when you were the strongest is long over," basically telling him, "Listen, even though you might threaten to kill me, there is nothing at this point that you could ever do to live up to that threat, so back off." As of course Bra manages to stand back up, she goes on to state, "Nowadays, anyone who's a Saiyan can become a Super Saiyan. You've got no choice but to listen to what we have to say." As she clicks onto a button, we notice how Broly's beginning to get shocked by some sort of electrocution, eerily similar to Dragon Ball Super Broly, in which we've seen Paragus do on board of a ship, and in many other instances as Broly is being restrained by this electricity. As Bra finally backs away, she goes on to tell him, "You see?" But meanwhile, back in the Rycon realm, Goku is continuing his conversation with Omega Shenron. As Omega tells Goku it looks like a Super Saiyan from the past has been resurrected through Porunga's power. As Goku goes on to ask, "A Super Saiyan from the past? Who do they want?" As Omega tells Goku, those on Earth are trying out the one method of reviving the Dragon Balls. As Goku cries out, "Damn it, so either way we can't do anything but wait for those Dragon Balls to revive?" As Omega smiles, he goes on to tell Goku, "That holds for we 7 dragons, and you, Goku." As Goku goes on to ask, "Well, however," as Omega continues, "there's one person here." With Goku having to be eerily quiet, Omega continues, "There's one person here who isn't a resident of the Kaioshin realm, or the Ryushin realm." As Goku asks, "Someone who doesn't reside here? Who?" As Goku turns around, he notices Pikkon. As Pikkon goes on to ask, Me? As Omega looks at Pikkon and saying, "Me," basically implying that Pikkon shouldn't even be there to begin with. He wasn't the one that originally merged with the dragon to begin with. However, meanwhile back with Broly, Broly begins to have memories of his past, of when his father barged on in and telling Broly off and having to get him to hate Goku even further, as Paragus goes on to tell Broly, "Alright Broly, you had better listen to me. You must despise the royal family who sent us into exile, as well as all other Saiyans besides you and me." In which, at that point, Broly begins to remember the first battle he had against Goku when Goku beat him, and the second time when he was blown into the sun. And because Broly is thinking about this, because of his hatred for the Saiyans, for Kakarot, he immediately transforms into a Super Saiyan, breaking through his restrictions. And as of course he does so, Bulma overhears such a loud commotion as she runs on in and having to cry out, "Ah, wait what the?" As Broly cries out, "Kakarot!" as he immediately takes it upon himself to redirect his focus at Bulma. As of course he takes initiative, he cries out, "Kakarot!" As moments before he's about to knock her head off, Vegeta intervenes in grabbing onto Broly's punch. As Broly cries out, "Vegeta!" with Vegeta having to state, "Broly, you want to kill me, right? Well then, get stronger. The way you are now, you couldn't kill me or even Trunks." As Broly now is beginning to understand how base Vegeta is so casually challenging him in power, Broly backs away as Vegeta goes on to tell him, "Come on." And then as soon as he does so, Broly sticks his hand out almost as if he's about to blast Vegeta into an oblivion. But instead what he ends up doing is he redirects his focus over on his side and blows a hole within Capsule Corporation. And as he does so, Bulma cries out, "Now hang on a minute. Don't just go and break our house now. As Broly goes on to tell Vegeta, Vegeta, I will kill you no matter what. As Vegeta replies, just try it. Which at that point, Broly takes it upon himself to exit through the hole that he had just created and flying towards the city. So basically here, Vegeta had slaughtered Broly's pride, telling him, listen, the era in which you were the strongest is long gone. So if you want to kill me or let alone my son, you're going to have to get much stronger than how you are now. As Bulma screams at Vegeta, she goes on to tell him, wait a minute, Vegeta, is it alright just to let him go? As Trunks comes barging on in, he cries out, Dad, don't tell me that Broly got away. As Bulma tells her son, no, Vegeta let him go. As Trunks comments, but we need Broly to revive Goku. As Vegeta goes on to reply to Trunks, how many times do I have to tell you? We don't need Kakarot. I'll take care of that bastard Xicor myself. As Trunks goes on to tell him, Dad, this is no time to say that. As Vegeta completely disregards him, he goes on to reply, it's alright, just come Trunks, let's go to the gravity room. Not even caring at the fact that Broly is now set loose within the city, as Vegeta's only focus is to simply get stronger. However, meanwhile, elsewhere we notice how Broly is overlooking the entire city, having to witness pedestrians walking with children, having to witness cars moving, so Broly is so ominously just standing over, watching the people of Earth just go about their day, as Broly begins to think back when he was a child, when he was a young adult, having to tell his father, I love you, Papa, as Paragus used to tell Broly, quiet down, Broly, controlling him through the controlling device and not allowing Broly to be his own person, as when he thinks back to what his father used to tell him, we have a flashback of Paragus having to tell Broly, don't think. Abandon all thought, Broly. As Broly begins to struggle within himself, he goes on to cry out, stop, please, stop it, Dad. As he removes the crown that's over his skull that's been there since the very beginning, Broly then begins to lose all control, as then he overlooks the entire city and having to utter out, trash, be gone. As right before Broly is about to decimate the entire city, a familiar voice cries out, so, you're Broly, huh? As Broly looks behind him, he notices Pikkon in the living world having to wait for him. As Pikkon goes on to tell Broly, you're looking pretty bloodshot right there. As Broly goes on to ask, who the hell are you? As Pikkon goes on to tell him, well, I mean, it's a long story, with Broly having to comment, don't give me that crap, why are you here? As Pikkon tells him, well, simply put, I'm here to persuade you. As Broly asks what? Pikkon goes on to tell him, we're sorry to bring you back from the dead like this, but you've got to help us revive Son Goku. As Broly asks, Son Goku? You mean Kakarot? As Pikkon goes, yep, Broly responds, Kakarot's no longer in this world? As Pikkon replies, that's right. And as Broly's body is beginning to shake and tremble, something's up with him, until out of nowhere, shockingly enough, Broly begins to laugh. He is rejoicing that Kakarot is no longer alive, by having to cry out, so, Kakarot's dead, is he? That means all I just have to do is kill Vegeta. Then I'll be the #1 Saiyan. As Pikkon asks, no, the thing is, something terrible has happened, so you've got to cooperate with us. We need you to revive Son Goku. As Broly asks, revive Kakarot? Did you really think I'd help you with that? As Pikkon goes on to tell him, well, we didn't think you'd be that easy to convince. As Broly responds, I don't understand how I've been brought back, but I'm doing things my way. First, I'll kill these annoying Earthlings. As Pikkon goes on to tell him, alright then, kill as much as you want. After, you will defeat me. As Broly goes on to casually laugh, he goes on to acknowledge him and having to stay confident, are you? Okay, and instead of attacking the people of Earth, Broly comes charging on in and directly having to fight against Pikkon. So now we have Broly versus Pikkon, and as Broly moves on in, Pikkon is simply too quick for Broly, as of course Pikkon had prevented the very tower that Broly had just broken off by having to rush towards him and putting it back in place. Pikkon goes on to ask, let's change locations. As Broly quickly Broly tries to attack him, Pikkon moves out of the way as Broly goes on to cry out, "Why, you?" As he finally connects a kick to Pikkon's ribcage, Pikkon instead grabs onto Broly's foot and he lunges him off out in the distance. And this was all a part of Pikkon's plan. Why? Because the initial strategy here is to get Broly away from the city. So by any means he allowed himself to get kicked, only to grab Broly by the leg and simply having to throw him out in the distance. In which he does so, he throws Broly with such force that Broly goes crashing off in the distance. As finally he acknowledges Pikkon, Pikkon touches back down. As even then Pikkon goes on to ask, "Why are you so frustrated? Is it the hatred for Goku or jealousy of Vegeta?" As Broly stands up, he cries out, "Shut up!" with Pikkon having to comment, "Why do you hate your fellow Saiyans?" But Broly has absolutely no means to respond, but instead goes right in attacking Pikkon again. As Pikkon, while fighting, Broly goes on to tell him, "Try asking yourself, what is the source of your frustration?" As Broly cries out, "Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up," thinking back to when his father was originally controlling him, we have ourselves another flashback of Paragus having to tell an elderly person, "Broly's nothing but a pawn. I will use him to become the new King Saiyan." As then Broly begins to think back, he collapses back down to the ground because the memory of his father, the hauntings of his father, are embedded in Broly's mind, so much so to where even Pikkon goes on to ask him, "You don't even know now, do you?" As Broly once again cries out, "Shut up!" With Pikkon having to block, he goes on to tell Broly, "Open up, Broly." And even as Broly is continuously fighting Pikkon by having to cry out, "Shut up, shut 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 up," finally Pikkon puts him down. But not only that, Pikkon allows Broly to basically drain himself before putting him down. As we then see Broly lying on his back, huffing and puffing after being so tired, Broly goes on to ask Pikkon, "Hey, where is Kakarot right now?" As Pikkon tells him, training in the heavenly realm. As Broly then goes on to ask, is he stronger than you?" As Pikkon tells him, "Yeah, vastly stronger." As Broly says, "I see. I'm only interested in fighting." As Pikkon says, "Yeah." As Broly responds, "I'll surpass Kakarot and Vegeta, and then I will kill them with my own hand." As Pikkon asks, "Is that so?" with Broly responding, my goal won't change." In which there is no overall reason for Broly to lie about his goals, as then we get to see the narration go on to state, "And so their month begins." And we kick this off by seeing Goten and Trunks finally train in the gravity room, which is a pretty cool thing because we never really got to see Goten and Trunks train as young adults, which I think is a pretty cool thing in seeing them actually take each other serious. But they're not alone because Vegeta is also with them, but Vegeta is just distant in the background trying to focus more or less on himself. As Goten and Trunks train, Trunks goes on to state Goten's really getting into it because Goten now understands the gravity and how serious this actually is. Meanwhile, elsewhere with Mr. Satan, we see Pan training with Bra, and I really enjoy this because we have the guys training and we also have the girls training. So the daughters of the strongest warriors are also colliding against each other as Hercule goes on to bite onto his nails and having to state, "Pan, Bra, don't fight so roughly," because the girls now are really taking their status very seriously here. As of course we get to notice how Pan gets hit so hard that she comes crashing outside of the training dojo. That's how hard Bra had just punched Pan outside of the facility. And even then the girls aren't stopping there because they're beginning to take their fight seriously even outside of the dojo, because everyone here understands that they have approximately 1 month until Xicor is set free. And what I really enjoy here is the minute that Bra lands and trying to find out where Pan had gone, Pan ends up swooping up behind Bra, but Bra having to be quicker than Pan, she quickly moves out of the way as she grabs onto Pan and throwing her across the wall once more. So what's really cool here is seeing Satan Stadium just get completely destroyed by these girls having to train, which is, dare I say, a lot more intense than what we've seen Goten and Trunks train inside of the the gravity room with, because the girls are literally trying to kill each other here. Meanwhile, the only person here that seems to be taking their training serious between Goten and Trunks is Goten. But meanwhile, we go back to the Turtle Hermit house. We notice an Elder Krillin having to stand outside, and he's even training, even though Krillin at this point has no reason to train because, essentially enough, he is useless. Android 18 steps outside as she goes on to ask him, "So, what are you up to?" As Krillin turns around, he goes on to comment, "Sorry, did I wake you? I figure that just maybe, I might do something useful this time." As 18 watches, Krillin continues, "I want to protect my family at least." As 18 goes on to tell him, "Don't overdo it." "Okay then, fine. I'll spar with you." As Krillin goes on to thank her, we finally get to see how Krillin and 18 are fighting while Roshi and Oolong and everyone else is sleeping. And what's cool about this is the fact that Krillin actually hits 18 so hard that he knocks her necklace off. So of course, Krillin at this stage in the game still got it. However, when we go back to Broly and Pikkon, Broly is just menacingly standing there over a waterfall as the water hits him, and he's overlooking Pikkon. Pikkon at this point isn't saying anything. Pikkon is just waiting. Pikkon is just watching. But Broly here seems to be taking this very, very personal. As of course, even when we go back to the Ryushin realm, Goku in base form is sparring with Omega Shenron. And as strong as Goku had gotten up until this point, now he is able to fully spar in base form against a very restricted Omega Shenron. As even the other dragons go on to comment, maybe we should have trained too. As one of the other dragons responds, "Does it really matter? We're all originally one anyway. We should just leave the training to those two." As Nuova and Ice go on to comment, "But will we be able to defeat this Xicor guy?" As Nuova goes on to comment, "Never mind that. We don't even know if Goku can be revived." As once everyone is talking, the actual dragon that is Porunga steps in as he goes on to comment, "The day of resurrection is definitely at hand. All the conditions have been met." As of course Porunga comments, "Now we only have to wait." As Nuova goes on to ask Porunga, "What are our chances?" As Porunga goes on to comment, "I don't know. But there is one thing I can say for sure. If all of you lose, then the living world, the afterlife, heaven, hell, the Kaioshin realm, the dark demon realm, and even the Ryushin realm will be no more." And so, 1 month passes by, and it's really fascinating to see how strong Goku had gotten, especially right now if he's able to spar with Omega Shenron so casually. But then we notice back with the Z sword, Mr. Satan is actually standing there as we notice the sword beginning to shake. There are helicopters everywhere, there's security everywhere, as even Mr. Satan's own security goes on to ask, "Satan, we finished evacuating the army." As Mr. Satan goes on to ask, "You two better evacuate soon too. Oh, and another thing, tell the media that the evil will never prevail. Not while Satan's around." As of course we notice how more individuals begin to arrive. Trunks and Vegeta actually touch down as they notice the Z sword beginning to shake. It's beginning to crack. As of course Vegeta goes on to comment, "It's finally time." Krillin even arrives as he goes on to state, "Hey, haven't seen you two in a while." As Trunks goes on to comment, "Well, father had trained for 5 years." As Krillin goes on to comment, "5 years? But," and that's when Vegeta says, "Enough talk, here he comes." As Krillin goes on to ask, "So, he's finally here?" As Trunks goes on to tell Mr. Satan, "It's too dangerous, you'd better leave." As the sword begins to crack more and more and more under the pressure, Vegeta goes on to cry out, "Get your ass out here, Xicor!" As the sword then completely snaps in two, as of course one piece of the sword ends up flying up in the sky. As everyone turns around, to their surprise and seemingly enough horror, they finally bear witness to the return of Xicor. As even then Krillin goes on to ask, "What a storm of ki!" As even Majub out in the distance while he's handling criminals is able to feel this power as he goes on to state, "So, he's finally revived?" As later we get to see Xicor on the floor, he's huffing and puffing. He can't believe that he was trapped within this sword for an entire month. As of course he quickly swipes the sword away. Vegeta, Trunks, and Krillin look on as Xicor slowly begins to stand back up. And as Xicor is slowly getting back on his feet, he goes on to comment, "You'll all pay for this." As he finally stands straight facing everyone before their eyes, he goes on to cry out, "You miserable insects," as Dragon Ball AF manga chapter number 4 comes to a close. Now, Toyble originally created a rough draft for Dragon Ball AF manga chapter number 5 that was never clearly finished, but we are going to be going into full detail and scope as to what happened after Xicor had broken out of the Z-Sword in the upcoming Dragon Ball AF manga chapter number 5 video, which, just like I've stated, showcases the original rough draft of what was involving Xicor and the Z-Fighters once Xicor broke out. But here, this is more or less a story that is centered around Broly returning and more or less what it took for him to calm down, and our heroes having to further persuade Broly because they need Broly in this fight against Xicor, being that right now Goku cannot physically return in the living world, and thus they need the energy of Broly and they need the cooperation of Broly in order for them to get Goku to return. But the better question is, once Goku does inevitably return, how exactly is Goku's fight with Xicor going to be paced, especially when Gohan in the previous manga chapter confirmed that the current Xicor we have right now is vastly more powerful than the Dragon Ball GT Goku we saw at the very end of the series when he went off with Shenron in the other world. So again, I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below about Broly, and I also want to get your thoughts as to the representation of Broly in this manga chapter and how you guys personally feel about the character in and of itself. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to this channel, like I've stated before, don't forget to go ahead and smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to never miss a single upload. And if you guys want to go ahead and stay up to date with all latest Dragon Ball fan mangas within the community, created by the community, then make sure you guys go ahead and check out the official Dragon Ball fan mangas playlist located down in the description box below. Also, if you guys have not checked out or subscribed to my secondary and third channels, then make sure you guys go ahead and check out those channels and hit that subscribe button, in which you guys can find these links down in the description box below. Thank you all so much for watching, everybody. Once more, tune back in for the final part of Dragon Ball AF manga chapter number 5's original draft, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming.
Also follow UnrealEntGaming on these social media platforms to stay connected at all times. And if you don't, then very soon you will all be dead! Oh, did someone say UnrealEntGaming? Oh my god.
The fuck's up, on? Put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes. Jesus Christ, that's huge! What, Broly?
Freezer.
Uh-oh.
Prepare to die!